Noob School. All right, well, welcome back to Noob School, episode 148. Today I have another wonderful old friend. We actually go back, she's obviously much younger than me, but we went to the same high school. Mm-hmm. And Marion Crawford, thanks for being here.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Marion has become one of the most successful business people, I would think, in Greenville, in our town, in the area, and has, after an initial career on-air reporting and working for ScanSource, and I don't know if there was something else in there.
I taught Spanish.
Taught Spanish?
Yes.
Habla
Elementary
español.
and middle school.
Habla español.
Un poco solamente.
No. So I'm using Duolingo now. I'm trying to up my Spanish game.
Nice.
But eventually started her own PR and marketing firm. It's become primarily a marketing firm at this point, right?
Marketing and advertising.
Marketing and advertising. So I want to hear all about that. But anyway, you've done this. You've had this your own company for 25.
No, not that long.
No?
But March will be 15 years.
15. Okay,
yeah.
15
Which
years.
we're really excited to celebrate because, it's a big milestone for us because after 15 years of being really figuring out how to do things, now I feel like we're in a position to just have a great time and do some great things.
You figure some things out.
Yeah, we have.
That's wonderful. It is funny when you start something how you got to try all these ways, like the best way to bill, the best way to collect, the best way to, hire, fire, all those things. And now you kind of got them worked out. Right?
Not perfect, but we're way better than we were when we started, I'll tell you that.
You can always do better. You can always do better. So, well, let's back up to the beginning and see how you got here. And, of course, we're looking for lessons learned, particularly around sales and things you've done in sales that people can learn from. But I know you went to high school here in Greenville at Christ Church. Mm-hmm. Was there anything about your experience in high school that was helpful to you?
I think having an opportunity to play sports was really helpful. I'm 5'2", so probably wouldn't have made a basketball team anywhere else, but was able to play basketball at the Christ Church. Yeah. And being part of a team and running track and being we're actually still on the wall, our track relay.
Nice.
Yeah, still on the wall there. But field hockey, all of that, it created a competitive nature. I already had competitive nature, but it really helped me recognize the opportunity to win as a team, which is actually one of our core values because that is so important, the team. And I love that. And I think that helped form who I am as a person.
Right, sports. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I read something the other day, and I think this applies to men as well as women, but this was about women, and it said they did a study of all the women that ran Fortune 1,000 companies, and 97% of them were athletes.
Interesting. That's not surprising. I think it just is. It's in your nature to want to get out there and do it.
Right. Right.
Work for it and then win.
That's awesome. And then after that, you chose University of Virginia for college. Was it close? Did you have some other ones you were thinking about?
I did, actually. I was going to go to Davidson and play field hockey there. And then when I got into UVA, I called the coach at Davidson and said, I'm not going to be coming. I'm going to UVA instead. And she said, well, do you want me to call the coach up there and see if you can walk on? And I said, I don't think so.
Yeah.
I just am going to go to college because it was such a different mentality. I mean, a big school versus Davidson, it was just going to be different. So, but I'm glad I went where I went. It was a great experience. And I had
Davidson would have been a good choice too. Mm-hmm. Great school. Mm-hmm. And then what'd you major in there?
I was an English major.
English, okay.
Which, it's funny, when I was going through that process, my father really wanted me to be in business, which is so funny that I run a business today. He wanted me to be in accounting and economics and all those things, and I did miserably in those classes.
Yeah.
And I got in an English class, and I was like, now this I can do. I can read and I can write really well. But today, I love the fact that I have a really strong background in reading and writing, and I still love the written word and the spoken word. but I have had to learn. I've gotten an MBA over the last 15 years for sure. And I use business skills every day, which, who knew I was going to do that?
Yeah, you never know. You never know. That's funny because, I mean, you think about, people think I want to do PR, I want to promote people or promote events or whatever. You got to be able to run a business.
You do.
It's regardless of what you were selling out here, you got to be able to operate a business. And
Absolutely. And that's a big piece of what I think is a surprise in business.
Right.
You think you're just going to go do the thing,
Right.
the art of
Right.
it all.
Right.
But the operational side is important if you want to scale at all.
Yeah, or survive.
Yeah, true.
I mean, small businesses go out of business all the time because people don't file their taxes.
Well, the first time I got a note from the South Carolina Department of Revenue because I had not paid payroll taxes because I was doing it all myself.
Right.
They must have gotten a trigger. David Hudson came knocking on the door and said, I have a solution for you. I'm like,
funny.
oh, sign me up.
Yeah.
we'll take all
David
the help we can
probably
get.
got to know someone at DOR and said, call me if
Yeah, whatever. He knocked on the door within a couple of weeks, so I know there was some sort of here, these people are on a list.
That's funny. Well, he built a nice company
He did.
doing that. He's been on the podcast. And so UVA, that was a good experience. English. So how much did you have to read to be an English major at UVA? Like a book a week or something?
I mean, it's been a really long time.
Just trying to understand.
There was a good bit of reading. Like there was a lot of Shakespeare. There was a lot of Emily Bronte. There was some really, there was a lot of Faulkner. There were all kinds of Zora Neale Hurston. A lot of different types of books that we read. It was good. I loved it. I love that part.
We did business one time years ago with a guy. He has a company, maybe 15 people. And he'd gone to Brown and majored in Shakespearean studies.
Oh, wow. Okay. Impressive.
And I'm like, dude, why did you do that? And he's like, well, I think Shakespeare can teach you just about everything. And so at the end of not every sentence, but every now and then, he would summarize whatever we were talking about with the Shakespearean quote.
Oh, wow.
And one of them was, I said, you're growing, but why do you have such a small team here? And he quoted where it was from, but he said, the fewer the troops, the greater the spoils. I was like, what? I understand what you're saying.
I do, yes.
I get it.
That is so interesting.
Yeah. Brown will let you major in anything, just whatever you want. You could major in Hamlet if you wanted to.
Okay. I wouldn't, I didn't ever look at Brown, so I don't know.
Yeah, I looked at it.
Did you?
It was, I wasn't ready for it.
Okay.
I'd be ready for it today. I could handle it, but
Yeah.
I didn't even know what I wanted to major in. You have to make up your own major. And I was like, what do I know?
And there was no computer, there was no internet, no one was no podcast to tell you how to do it, nothing.
I was just like,
A paper
I was
booklet.
like a blank stare. I don't know. I'll go to the Citadel.
I love it.
And so when you got out of that, was your first job the on-air job?
No. I went to New York and I was a page for the NBC program, the NBC page program.
Okay.
So it was the best first job out of college you can imagine. First of all, I didn't have to buy a new wardrobe because we were given really lovely polyester white blouses, khaki skirts, navy blue blazers with a little NBC lapel and little navy shoes.
Yeah.
So that's really, I got to wear that every day.
Yeah.
I got to wear that. But we gave tours, but we also worked on the David Letterman show was there at the time, the Saturday Night Live, the Today Show, and there was something Lorne Michaels was doing at the time called Night Music, which you would love.
Oh.
And it was he would have a studio similar to this one, and he would bring bands in to jam together that didn't typically do that with a small studio audience.
Yeah.
And I got to work those, and it was really fun. It was a great first job out of college.
So is that kind of crowd control? You're kind of leading people around and
Yeah, I mean, just doing the little customer service type things, whatever needed to be done. But I will say this: we were celebrating I think it was the 15th year anniversary of Saturday Night Live, or maybe the 10th. Maybe it was the 10th anniversary. And we were all all the pages were going to work it. But this young woman and I who were working together, she was from North Carolina, we decided we were going to bring our black dresses, pumps, and pearls and everything just in case we weren't needed to work. And sure enough, they had too many people working it. And they were like, you pages go home. So she and I went and put on our dresses and came back, and our page friends seated us in empty seats in the audience. So I got to sit next to Carly Simon during that show. And then when our bosses saw us, they asked us to go up to the Rainbow Room to greet all the guests as they were coming in. So it worked out great. It was one of those, like, think ahead and see if you can't work something into this.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. That's being bold. That's trying something.
Sure.
You know, don't accept the first no.
Right.
It wasn't even a no. It was like
It was just plan ahead. Like, what if
what if?
everyone's going to show up and they may not need all of us?
Right.
So let's just be ready, just in case.
That was good. That was good. Did you meet Letterman or any of those people?
I mean, I worked on the show with him. I don't say I met him.
Yeah.
He would have made fun of that page in the corner, probably one of those kind of scenarios.
There's Marion over there.
Yeah, he would just say
From South Carolina.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Nothing memorable. I will say that. Oh, the thing that this was formative for me. We would rotate, part of the page program is you rotate through the departments within the company. One of them that I rotated through was an ad department, but it was the back office of the ads. So I got to see whether this, I was looking at a Lotus spreadsheet to see if this ad ran, and if it did, I clicked this button, and if it didn't, I clicked that button. It was awful.
Yeah.
It was awful. They offered me a job, and my dad was like, you got a job, yay. And I was like, this will kill me. It will kill my soul. Meanwhile, I was volunteering on the nightly news desk, answering phones, people calling in with stories. I would run it over to Maria Shriver or Tom Brokaw, and that was firing me up. I loved it.
Yeah.
So that's how I ended up in news.
Got it. So you were hustling.
Well, it was just, I knew I had an opportunity to be there.
Yeah.
They would say, sure, she's a page. She can come answer phones and be here. And I mean, watching all that happen was just, I loved it.
Yeah. You get 5, 4, 3, 2. I learned that, right? You don't say the 2, 1.
Right.
Yeah. Well, how much fun is that? You know, Russell Park was up there on the Stupid Pet Tricks one time.
Oh, really?
Must not have been the same time you were up there, but
I might not have known Russell at the time. I knew Billy and I knew Missy, but I didn't know Russell.
Well, those are some great people, wonderful people. Well, that's cool. So then,
that was really formative.
That was formative, and you
Right.
decided you wanted to do what they were doing. You wanted to be on the air.
I wanted to share important information with other people.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really, when I was a young, little, tiny person, I would carry around a notebook and a pen or a book. I was either reading or writing something, and I always felt like there was something important that I needed to communicate.
Yeah.
And so the news felt like the really perfect way to do that.
Yeah.
So when I was home for, I think it was Christmas or Thanksgiving or something, I went and interviewed around and got a job and started at the bottom. I mean, there's a movie, I don't remember the name of the movie, about a woman who, like, she starts in a newsroom and she's going to get people's laundry and, you know, all that and fix their coffee. That was me.
You? It was this WSPA?
That was WSPA.
Okay.
But I would come in early, and there was a photographer who taught me how to edit.
Yeah.
And so then when someone was out, I could edit tape.
Yeah.
So then I got quickly moved into a role of associate producer because I could edit tape and I could write. So then I started writing news. So all that, and then eventually I went to lunch, and this was such a wonderful thing. I love when people drop little bits of information into your life. Jane Robelo took me to lunch one day, and she said, what do you want to do? And I was like, Jane, I would just like to sit where you are and do what you do. I think you're wonderful. I'd love to do it. Feels really important. And she said, well, I think you ought to dress for the job you want, not the job you have. And I said, because you know, in my role, I didn't need to do anything but wear flip-flops and blue jeans and T-shirts, which is what I was, I mean, you know, that was the back side of the production. And so I went out and bought some clothes and started dressing up. And the Bat Humphreys, the producer, said, well, you interviewing? What are you doing? And I said, no, I just want to be ready. So when the Gulf War I started, all the reporters were out on stories. And they came to me and said, here's your chance. We're
Yeah.
going to go live and announce. We're going to break in on the daily, like the soap operas. I think it was Days of Our Lives that I had to interrupt to tell people we were going to war. It was like my big break. It was so exciting. But I was dressed for the part.
Yeah.
I was ready.
You're ready. Mm-hmm. That's amazing.
Kinda
That's
like
the second time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. I mean, yeah, you got to be ready.
And then just sort of plan for what could happen. And so that I offered to work weekends. Not at first, I wasn't being paid to, so I would just go out with a photographer and cover weekend stories. And eventually, all of that led to being on air at WLOS. I was never full-time on air. I was part-time on air at SPA, and then later went to WLOS where I was on air full-time.
So did they grab you and pull you over? How did that
No,
happen?
I ended up having a transition period. I left SPA. My mom actually survivor of breast cancer, but she and I took time away to care for her
Okay.
for a bit, and then later went back to WLOS.
Okay, and they put you on air.
Yeah.
That's cool. So when you're going to do the news, tell us about that process between like what you might say on the air and how you get the information and then write it or summarize it into something someone's going to say.
When you are out in the field capturing a story, you're jotting down information, and you've probably done as much research on the front end as you can, but you're really learning from the people. Now there's a lot more information out there, but back in the day, there was just not as much.
No.
I don't think we had internet then. I'm not sure. Maybe we started to at the very end. So you would just jot down, if you heard them say something really good when you were doing the interview, you would make a note of that so that when you got back to the studio, you could edit quickly. And usually the photographer is helping edit. But if not, if they had to edit something else, because maybe you shot 2 stories that day, I would be in there editing as fast as you could. And then you go throw it in. You're in the truck writing on the way back to the studio so that you could throw it in to the computer and get it to your producer who is hounding you. I mean, deadlines.
Where is it?
I mean, because
Yeah.
the news doesn't wait.
Right.
You know, they'll
It's
drop your
6
story.
o'clock,
They'll
right.
drop your story
Yeah.
if you don't have it ready. So
Yeah.
you just learn you never miss a deadline.
Yeah. So when you say you got notes you took and then you're editing those into concise notes written down.
Yeah, you start to write the story. At least I did. This was my habit. I would write the story, and I didn't have a laptop or anything, so I was on a notepad.
Yeah.
I would write the story based on my notes in the interview we just had as I'm driving back, and they are driving. So the photographer would typically drive. And then that way, when I got to the station, I would type it up really fast, and then we would also go in and be editing. If we didn't know if it was going to be a package, a voiceover, a voice like a VO bite, which is with like a sound bite. So anyway, it all happened so fast. But that was a long time ago too, John. Oh my God.
What's interesting is for people who've never done that before, it's very interesting to hear what the process
But
is
I
like.
bet it's a little different now. I mean,
Yeah.
I bet they're.
Probably on the pad or something.
I bet there's a lot of things that are different now because we had tapes. We literally had tapes back then.
Yeah. Well, I bet you were better. You and Jane were better than what they're doing today, I would say. Old school. So how long did you stay on air?
I was at Belshare Festival in Asheville, and I had just interviewed the Highway Patrol about safety and everything at the festival. And it ended, and I think I worked Wednesday to Sunday, 2:30 to 11:30. So that was my shift. And so it was Sunday night. I'm driving home. It's like 11:30, and a log had fallen off of a logging truck, and my left headlight was out, and I didn't see the log. So I ran over it. Basically, didn't total my car, but it was going to be limping home. And thankfully, cell phones had just come out. They were about this big in a bag.
In a bag, yeah.
Yep. And I called Star HP because I just interviewed the Highway Patrol, and they said, if you need something, you can always call Star
Nice.
HP. So I did. And I got the guy I had interviewed. They ended up coming and escorting me home
Yeah.
and making sure my car got to Greenville. But that's when we decided Wednesday to Sunday, 2 to 11:30. I was married. My husband was working regular hours. We hadn't had a day off together in forever. We kind of decided it was time to shift out of that. That was 93. think, somewhere in that
Yeah.
time frame. So I decided to look at the real business world, and you were one of the people I came to talk to interview with.
Yeah.
And you did not have a role for me because I wasn't a good fit, which I think is awesome. You know, it's always good to know what you don't work for. But you recommended that I go over to ScanSource, where I did fit,
Yeah.
which is hilarious because here I am coming out of news and an English major selling barcoding and scanning equipment, but it was great.
Yeah.
And it lasted for several years until we had our second child.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. Mike Bauer, you know, who was the CEO then, he's still the CEO at ScanSource. Almost every time I see him, he's like, "Thank you for sending Marion over here."
That's funny.
Because you were great. You
Yeah,
did great.
it was a good fit. I mean,
Yeah.
we went from I was the second salesperson. I was the 19th employee. So what I really appreciate is the fact that I got to see the inside of a startup. I didn't realize how valuable that was going to be at the time for me later. Who knew what was going to come?
Right.
But watching that and having that sales focus
Yeah.
on numbers and knowing that it's important, we've got to hit the numbers every month and this is where we're going to go.
Yeah.
And that has, I mean, I will just watching those in my head, rewatching those meetings where we would see the numbers on the board. It was a great training ground for me when I started a business later.
Yeah.
I will also tell you a little thing about Steve Owings. He was the founder of ScanSource, and he was a really great teacher in his own way.
Yeah.
So he would come by my desk, and he would ask me, "So how much did you sell today?" And I wouldn't know the answer. So very quickly, I started every day having a sticky note of exactly how much I'd sold all day.
Yeah.
So he would come by, and I was like, "I got it.
Yeah.
Here's what I've sold today." And then he'd say, "At what margin?" So then I started tracking my margins. So,
Yeah.
but what that did was teach me so much without actually telling me these are the things you need to measure.
Yeah.
He was showing me what he valued,
Yeah.
which is sales numbers, but at a certain margin. You can't be too high, you can't be too low.
Yeah.
Those things matter, and those things matter in our business today.
Right.
And it was just great lessons.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm glad that was a great experience for you.
Yeah, I appreciate the
wa-
referral.
Of course, it was for a lot of people. Mike and I, we exchanged people quite a bit when it just wasn't the right fit at one company and it was for another. So it worked out. It worked out for Andrea Mead also.
I don't know her.
Andrea was well, maybe she came after you.
Okay.
But she became their COO, COO, I think. And we had a guy on our team that was married to her, so we just helped her. But she turned out to be a superstar. She was great,
That's great.
just like you.
Oh,
So after years, 5 or 6 years at ScanSource, is that when you started the business?
no, I didn't. So I had our second child.
Okay.
And I decided that I needed to be a little bit less, because at that point in time, I had moved into business development for ScanSource,
Okay.
and my territory was the U.S. and Canada. So I was flying all over the place, and I had a little 2-year-old and
Yeah.
another one on the way, and I was like, okay, this is not going to
Keep
work.
out kicking your coverage, you know? I mean, these jobs, it's crazy.
So I decided, and I tried to move into marketing, which is hilarious given what we do now. But I couldn't figure out the balance. So I said, you know what? I'm going to step back, which I did, and I taught part-time for years while my kids, and we had a third child, and so I ended up in the schools with the kids until our youngest was 7.
Okay.
So that allowed
So-
me to be on their school, schedule. I was off in the summers, vacations. It was just really convenient.
And what school?
Well, it started at Westminster and went to Christ School. And I'll
Okay.
tell you how the Christ School thing came about.
Okay.
A neighbor down the street said, "I've just heard from my son that the Spanish teacher at Christ School is having a baby, and she had a baby and she's not coming back from maternity leave. And they need someone temporarily. Can
Yeah.
you step in?" I'm like, I need
See?
to refresh my Spanish, but we can do that, sure.
yeah.
And so I did, and the coolest thing was I got to create a curriculum because there wasn't one. So I went to Blythe, and I just did some great research and put together what I think was a fun, great curriculum. I enjoyed it. Actually, I think I taught your youngest.
Really? Lizzie? Okay.
Yep. And anyway, I had a great time and did that for several years. And then, but I knew it was not my forever thing. I knew that long term, I had a business itch that I needed to scratch. So,
Okay. So you taught Lizzie, was she any good?
yes, she was wonderful.
She she ended up going to Salamanca for 4 or 5 months to try to become fluent.
You'll have to ask her if she had Senora Crawford. I'm fairly certain she did.
Senora Crawford. I'll ask her. Yeah, she just had a baby last week.
Congratulations.
Little Charlie.
How many does she have? Is that her first?
She's got 2.
Okay.
Yeah, she's got 2.
That's congratulations.
Thank you.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely ask her. I'll talk to her tonight. Okay, so that makes total sense with with little babies, young children, not to be flying to Canada. I mean, I get it. It's just so darn hard to manage all that stuff. But I think you managed it by becoming a local teacher.
Right, and my husband was at the time. He was on the track to become a partner at a law firm, at the White firm.
Yeah.
And so he had something that I knew was I wasn't sure with our family situation, if I was going to be part-time. So being on their schedule just made more sense for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
I will say I did try before I went into the school system. I got my real estate license and I held one open house, and it was on a Saturday or a Sunday.
Yeah.
And William, I came home and he goes, "This is not going to work." I left him with 3 little kids and the third, baby and everything. He's like, "Weekends are not going to work this way. It's not going to be good for us." So I was like, "Okay."
It's another profession with odd hours. You'd be great at it, though. I mean,
Well, it was not meant to be. So
yeah.
So teaching was good, and it kept me. It was a creative outlet. I had to sell to the kids because I had to keep them engaged.
Yeah.
I got to craft the curriculum, and it was fun. I mean, it wasn't. I look back on it very fondly.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. I tried to sell a house one time for sale by owner because I was going to save the commission. This was really our first house, and I was selling it. And first guy comes by, and he's like, "How long you had the house?" I'm like, "Well, 4 years." He goes, "What's the school district?" I'm like, "Christ Church, I guess." I mean, that was one question and I was out.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, that's how much information I knew. So I've always used agents since then.
That's
Buy a
great.
house, yeah. Okay, so now the children are old enough that you're going to start your own agency, or are you working for somebody?
At that point, I wanted to start something.
Okay.
And I actually was thinking of starting a nonprofit, and I was going to do it with someone who was in the nonprofit space. She's since moved to Idaho, I think. No, North Dakota. But anyway, William, he's been a big influence in my life. I mean, you have influences in your life. William has been a really good one, a very strong one. I like to call him water. Water will find a way up, around, down, under. It will not be stopped.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, he said, really, if you're going to start something, you should start it for profit. Because it's going to be the same amount of work either way.
I can hear him saying that. Yeah.
So, hence, I decided to start a business because I thought about what am I really good at? I love to read, I love to write, I love to share important stories, and I love business.
Yeah.
So in there felt like PR, and so that's where I started. Now, I know you and I have talked about where we are today is different, but where I started was leveraging the skills that Marion had, not the team.
Right.
So I went to the only woman that I knew growing up who had a job, who had a career.
Yeah.
Was Sandy Lenning, and she had her PR firm, and she was at Smoke PR it was Lenning Smoke, and I ended up joining them as a partner, and for lots of reasons, we just weren't exactly eye to eye on exactly what we wanted out of our businesses, so we ended up parting ways, but it was a great thing to see what some of the businesses look like.
Yeah.
Great experience. But then started Crawford with the intent, we called it, at the time, it was called Crawford Strategy. And the reason it was called Crawford Strategy was because we wanted to be a part of the strategy of the business. We wanted to be able to sit with folks and help them work through, here are the business goals, and here's the strategy to get there from a communications standpoint.
Yeah.
Very quickly, my background in PR was not enough. The folks I was working with would say, well, if back in the day, they would say, am I supposed to be doing this social media thing? And I was like, yes, and we can help with that. And then websites and all of that. So quickly, I found the need to engage and hire others. So I started building a team. And within, I would say, 3 years, we had, the very first year, we got one client that grew from, it was Caramount Health in Gastonia. And thank you, Rowena, for having faith in us. And she's had faith in us at 3 different hospitals.
Yeah.
So I'm really appreciative
Nice.
of that. But she gave us an opportunity to do one thing, and that turned into another. And very quickly, it turned into basically an outsourced marketing and PR department for her, or for the hospital. And we even had an employee on site there. Then later, at Mission, we did the same thing. So those clients allowed me to put a team in place because I had the revenue to do so that brought far more than just PR. So very quickly, within the first 3 years, we were offering full service, but I will tell you that over the years, we've been adding depth to the bench and real expertise. And today, I mean, I'm so excited about it because I've got a president that I've just recently hired. He joined a little over a year ago. He was October of 23. So he became president in December of this past year, and he's amazing, Bryant Lambert. And then he came from EP, so he was 13 years there, which is a big agency. So he was in New York all the time. He's dealt with big clients. Our creative director we hired from Austin, Texas, from a agency, GSD&M. So he's bringing a level of creative. I mean, he did Tyson Chicken and Southwest Airlines, big stuff. And it's awesome to see this kind of what happens when you put these people. And then we just got this woman, we just were able to bring Carissa on board from Dentsu, which is, again, like a massive agency. She was based out of Atlanta, but COVID brought her here in 2020.
Yeah.
How fortunate for us.
Right.
And so we were able to bring her on board. It's changed the game. I mean, it changes the game. So suddenly, when we're in these conversations with prospects, we have a real just deep talent bench that we've just not had before.
Nice.
And it's fun. It's
Yeah.
exciting. We have a head of strategy, client strategy. We've never had that. We put her
Right.
in place end of last year, and we've just added another member to her team. And so we are finally at a what I would say is like truly firing on all cylinders as far as the creative, the media, all of that advertising side, and PR is a big piece of that. But it's funny, we're not where we started.
Right. Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier. I mean, it sounds like at the place you've gotten to after these 15 years is you have your leaders in place.
It's such a good feeling.
Yeah, and now you can trust them to run with their area, and I guess you can be more strategic and
Right.
kind of do whatever you want. But
I mean, it's been so much fun to try to find people who are better and successfully find people who are better than I am at what they do, so I can I get out of the way, and just my job is to support them and their success. And when they bring here's the opportunity, I mean, it is amazing what has come as a result of that.
Yeah.
It is truly amazing.
You know, T. Hooper has been a great business person in Greenville, multiple businesses, and he told me a long time ago, he says, the fun starts when you get all of your leaders in place.
Yes.
Then you can really do something. Until then, everyone's kind of in a mad scramble. You know, maybe not in your case, but in a lot of cases.
It has been a mad scramble. I'll tell you, I am not going to lie. It has been a mad scramble.
All right. I wasn't accusatory, but I mean,
No.
once you get someone who really can run a creative group and bring people with them and, make it all happen.
Yeah, it
good.
truly is. It's amazing.
So 15 years later, you've got to this point. What's going to happen? Like in 5 years, what's it going to look like?
That is well, in 5 years, I am not going to be retired, but I will likely be working more out of the office than in the office because everyone's going to be running the show and I'm going to be along for the ride. But I never want to lose touch. I mean, I'm having too much fun. I'm still involved with clients, not all. And think Bryant's role, in addition to being president, he came in as head of client relations, and he is so good at that. And to have someone who cares about the relationships as much as I have is amazing because that's just been every single one has been like a dear soul friend to me. I mean, a long, long time ago, I learned from Sandy Lenning that it's important that you think of your clients as friends because you want to be working with them for a long time and you want them to be a friend. And it's true. And I am friends with a lot of these folks. And so those that I still work with are good friends and also we've got clients for 12 years, 13 years. It's great. Yeah, it's fun.
Well, give me a flavor for like what the ideal clients look like.
It's so interesting that you asked that. They are so varied. I'll give you some of our current clients and tell you what we're doing. So it's very interesting. We have some areas of specialty. So higher ed is one where we're the agency of record for University of West Georgia. We have worked with Southern Wesleyan University, Indiana Wesleyan, North Greenville University. So we really feel like we have an understanding of helping increase enrollment and all that sort of thing. Working with United Community Bank for the last 12 years. I mean, that started as a conversation with my friend and client for a long time, Len Harton. As he was joining, he was going to become COO at the time. And I just said, whatever I can do to help. And honestly, that's how I felt. Like listening to the opportunity, I said, I'm happy to help in any way, shape, or form. Well, that has turned into a very long-standing relationship where we have done work. I mean, they've acquired 12 organizations over the last 13 years, and we've been a part of that. You know, M&A, we do a lot with M&A and branding. So when healthcare is similar, we're big in the healthcare. So like Mission Health had one hospital when we started working with them. And then during the time we worked together, there were six hospitals. So we had to assimilate the brands together, similarly with United. So doing all that communication to the stakeholders and doing all the branding and assimilating that's a real sweet spot. But right now, like we're working with Nothing Bundt Cakes, doing TV productions, which we've never had an opportunity to do with them before. And this is doing all of their marketing materials for their franchises and their collateral. So we helped them with their, revise their logo and front of house customer experience. So really varied. I mean, all over the map. But I will say the financial services really, long history, healthcare, long history, higher ed, long history, and food and bev is growing.
Okay.
So we're excited about that. But the area that we are really good at is, I would say, we work with you to make sure we've positioned your brand well. And then we come up with the creative campaigns that bring it to life for the audience that you need to reach. And then we are great now especially with our team on the media front of making sure it gets to the right place. And then we amplify it all with PR. So it's it's really fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was very hard for people to come up with that thing that describes what they do, whatever that positioning is. And I always think about like Volvo, safety, Michelin is safety also, I suppose.
So we're momentum makers.
Yeah.
That's what ours is.
Yeah.
That's what we do.
That's what you call what you do.
Yeah, we're momentum makers.
Yeah, okay.
Because we're here to help build momentum for the brand.
Yeah.
And it looks different across all the clients, but we build momentum.
You figure out what you have to do to create that momentum.
That's it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
And Michelin, that's another one. So this is a totally different one.
Yeah.
They had a need to create a culture of health. You think about, they have, I don't know how many, 18,000, I don't know how many covered lives in North America, but all of their covered lives with health insurance in North America needed to be communicated with in a way that they would be engaged with their benefits. Well, they came to us, I think, 7 years ago, and we have been working with them ever since, and we've brought everything from paper to digital, and we've had a really great experience. I mean, they've been an amazing client and an opportunity to really communicate and create an engagement on their benefits. That's not what you would expect from a typical ad agency,
Yeah.
but it is a very important business challenge, and we're creating momentum on the front of their health, of their employee engagement and health. So it's like, how can we help you in your business by bringing momentum to the table? And there's no business that doesn't need momentum.
Right. I agree. I think that's a great slogan or
Positioning.
positioning. Yeah, I'm a big believer in it. I have a hard time figuring out for myself for my own company. So I try, but maybe I should come to you for some help.
Come on.
Well, friends and family, right? Okay. And so 5 years from now, it's gotten stronger, bigger, better. You've pulled back a little bit in terms of being there all the time.
Right.
You're not going to be on that exercise machine, right? What are the?
I have 3 of those. The treadmill does?
Yeah, you stand on them, right? And you
I
go on
walk.
the computer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a treadmill. I walk miles while I work.
Do you track the steps?
Oh, it does right there for me, yeah.
So what do you do in a day? How many steps?
Depends on how many meetings I have. If I'm just working, like no meetings, which is hardly ever the case. I mean,
Sunday.
sometimes I can walk 6 miles.
Okay.
I mean, because I'm not walking fast.
Right.
But just walking while I work as opposed to sitting while I work.
Yeah. Well, I think it's great.
I have one at home, at the farm, at the office. Yeah. I love it. They're not that expensive.
Yeah. Interesting. Maybe I need one.
They're great.
Yeah.
You just have, it's a mentality shift from sitting to standing and walking. I'd rather walk than stand.
I saw a guy one time I went to Canyon Ranch, which some people call a fat farm, but I went out there and the guy who ran the place, I went to his office and he had a standing desk with his laptop and all that stuff. And then he had a beautiful, like, lazy boy kind of chair sitting there. I said, how do you decide which one to do? And he goes, well, I have a rule. He goes, if I'm reading, I can sit down.
Right.
Like a book or something. He goes, but if I want to do email or talk on the phone, I got to stand up.
That's it.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a great rule of thumb.
So let's keep going because it's a great story. I'm so proud of you. I'm
Thank
so proud
you.
of all
It's
you've
a lot
done.
of fun.
And you've had the added challenge of having to deal with raising children and stuff in the middle of all this, you know.
Let me tell you.
Yeah.
Let me tell you the benefits. So I'm going to be honest. There were a lot of tears that I have shed through the years when I missed a game or I missed a lot of things.
Yeah.
And if it hadn't been for William Crawford saying, your kids are going to be fine. They're never going to remember that you didn't
won't
get to that
remember,
game.
yeah.
They will know that you came to some games and that is what is important and you
Right.
cared and you loved them and all that. But he had such a good perspective that I did not have. So he was huge because I had a lot of guilt, a lot of mom guilt.
Yeah.
And then my mother-in-law was amazing. She's lived with us since William's dad passed away in 2003. I think it was 2003. Yeah. And so she took care of the kids. I had a nanny in the afternoons to pick them up and everything and run them here and there. But Nana was always there, always. So in the summertime, there was an extra set of eyes. There was that stability factor. And between Nana and William, it was amazing. And now, guess what? I have one of my children works with me and she's moving into new business with me, which is exciting.
Yeah.
And then the other one works for a branding company in town. And we had a meeting yesterday, the 3 of us, McCoy in Denver, Brawley at his office, me at my office. And my other daughter, who works at the Denver Rescue Mission, walked by and said, do you guys get to do this all the time? This is not fair.
Yeah.
But it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's great. So, yes, it was worth it for anybody out there who might be a working mom who feels guilty.
Yeah.
It is amazing. The girls in particular say we're really glad that you were able to stick it out because you've given us a model for what it could look like, which, both models are good. And every model is different for every family, but I enjoy what I do. And I just am glad I got to do it, but I needed that encouragement from William along the way because there was a lot of guilt sometimes.
Well, it's brain will play tricks on you sometimes, but I think it's good to talk to other people and try to figure it out because I believe that you're doing the right thing. And sometimes people might believe something, let's say an old wives' tale kind of thing, like you've got to go to every game of your kid. And of course, I didn't do that either. And my thing was, I have stuff I'm trying to do. And you have stuff you're trying to do.
Right.
You're trying to win your middle school soccer game. I'm trying to build this business over here, win this account. And it doesn't mean I don't love you.
Right.
And I would tell them that because I didn't go to a lot of it. And I also said, again, I don't want to besmirch anyone, but I saw other people literally just give up everything to go to every 8th grade soccer game. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a great example.
Yeah, there's a balance.
Yeah, it's a balance.
Yeah, and I will say the first time I had, I finally, one day I hired an assistant. The first several years I did it all, like you and I were talking about that before. And, I was trying to run all these departments. I didn't have a lot of people. And finally I hired an assistant. It was amazing. Oh my gosh, it changed the game for me.
Yeah.
But I remember the first time I was supposed to deliver oranges or something to some field somewhere. And I was like, there is no way I'm going to make it. I've got all these things. And she said, I've got it. I'll do it. I was like, thank the Lord. Thank you. And I mean, it was great. It was great. The kids didn't know. They didn't care if I brought the oranges or not.
Got the oranges or don't we? And that's what they want to know. Well, this is wonderful. Let me ask you some really, really important questions.
Okay. I'm here.
Well, AI, how are you using like Grok or ChatGPT in your world?
It's interesting. It is such a great place to start a project.
Yeah.
And we tried for a little bit to come up with a formal approach, and it's changing so fast that any formal approach we got was out of date. So basically we're never going to ever use something that is out of AI that we don't say this is AI. So when we have it on social, if we used anything that was created with AI, it has a tag that says that. So we are clear about that, but it's a great brainstorming tool.
Yeah.
It's cool. Now, here's the thing. So you have a human who's been working with a client for 12 years. The human has a lot of information that unless you know that, it's not going to be, the input into the AI is as valuable as what you get out.
Yeah.
So you have to have the information that you can put in to actually get relevant information back out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I agree with you though. I mean, I have the hardest time with a blank piece of paper, but if I can tell, AI or Grok, I can say, okay, it's a regional hospital in South Carolina. It's been around this many years. Here's the biggest challenge. Give me 5 bullet points on how, all of a sudden I got something.
Yep.
And
It's
then
a great starting
editing,
point.
and so I think I'm kind of like you. I don't want to pretend like it's delivering my work, but it is a good starting point. And if people aren't using it and learning about it every day a little bit, they're going to be way behind.
Oh my goodness. Well, and let me take it out of the workplace for a minute and into a personal situation. So there's an area of my life that I'm not good at, and that is interior design. And we're renovating a kitchen. And I went and put in, could you develop a picture for me of a kitchen with brick pavers on the floor, wooden beams on the ceiling, wooden countertops, and this color cabinets, and these lights, and da-da-da.
Yeah.
Created a picture.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. I give it to the builder. I'm like, this is the look and feel I'm going for. I mean, I could never have done that a year ago.
Right.
I mean, because it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Incredible.
Yeah.
It's getting better by the week.
But I will say, this was about a year ago. We were using AI to help us develop some images for a campaign. And I looked at one and I said, oh, does anyone see a problem with this one? And it was a shopkeeper of a ice cream shop and a child. And basically, she's sitting down on the floor. And you don't do food and floor at the same time. And I was like, you're in a food situation. There's a floor. We're not going to have food and the floor together. We're going to have to adjust that. But so, but that's a year ago. I bet it wouldn't do that today.
Probably not, but you can find little things. Very often you'll see there'll be too many fingers. Like sometimes there's 6 fingers, on these things. So
That's funny.
they'll fix that. So,
but it is becoming more and more a part of what we do, to the point where it really is. It's so helpful, but almost a little scary, just to be honest.
yeah,
It's really smart.
keep an eye on it. You don't know what it's going to do.
Exactly.
Well, back to an old school question from your English major days. What's your favorite book?
All right. Well, let's talk for work first.
Okay.
The most influential book I've read is It Was Good Great by Jim Collins. And it changed the game for me because first, when I started my business, I did not know how important it was. Even though I had played team sports and I knew how important a team was, I kept thinking I could do all the work. I just needed to hire people and they would do this, this, and this. But I didn't realize we needed to perform as a team. And I read that book and I was like, duh.
Yeah.
It changed everything. The whole way we operated. We created a culture of longevity as opposed to we had this churn and burn before. So our goal is to keep people and to really pour into them and help, because then they're more valuable to the clients, to us, but also it's a more fun place to be.
Yeah.
We know each other, we care about each other.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was a good one. I personally love mysteries. I've been reading mysteries since I was young. So, and today, like a espionage, I wish there was a new Robert Ludlum kind of books out, because I've read a lot of those, Ken Follett, that sort of thing. So,
Eye of the Needle. I remember that one.
yeah.
How about Clavel? Did you read like Noble House? And, no, they're
Maybe I should.
they're I think you should. Shogun, Noble House, Taipan, King Rat is one of my favorites.
Okay.
You might like King Rat. King Rat is about a man in the Taipei prison in Singapore.
Okay.
It was built for 400 people. And the Chinese had taken over Singapore, I guess during World War II, I don't know. And they had so many prisoners, they had to just slam them all in this prison. They had like 2,500 prisoners in a 400 prison thing.
Goodness.
So many that you almost couldn't even have guards in there. It was just put them in there. And there was this one guy, they call him the King Rat, who no matter what they did to him or what happened, he always came out on top. He would have clean sheets, a nice thing. He was just like a master trader with favors and stuff.
Interesting.
It's fascinating. And it's not too long, but I would recommend that book.
Okay.
we
King
can- we
Rat.
can
I'll
start
have
a
to
book
make a mental
club.
note. Yes.
I'll give you one, you give me one.
All right. I love that. I need to think about something newer. I read so many business books because I feel like I'm still just voraciously trying to make sure I'm the best I can be. Right now I'm reading one called How Leaders Learn. It was recommended to me by a client, Lynn Harton, and it's great. David Novak, and he has a podcast, and it's good. But I recommend it
Good. Okay.
if you want a business book.
I got it. How Leaders Learn. I'll put it in the stack with the rest of them.
Okay.
I've got so many books. Okay. Back English major again. Favorite word?
I would say hope.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. And favorite band?
That was tough. The Rolling Stones, I love, and I saw them in New York, and that was great.
Would that be, was it Madison Square Garden or
No, it was in Shea Stadium.
Shea Stadium? Golly,
It was amazing.
I bet that place was electric.
But the Avett Brothers at in Colorado, the
Red Rocks.
Red Rocks.
Yeah.
Oh, that's hard to beat too.
Yeah, I bet. I haven't done that yet. I need to do that.
It's a very different vibe.
Yeah. Smells funny out there, doesn't it? That's what I hear.
A little bit like a skunk.
Yeah, like a skunk. And then is there anything you want to promote your business or you want to promote anything at all? This is the time to do it.
Well, I would just say the business is great. We're excited from a promotional standpoint. I don't really know what I want to promote. No.
Okay.
I mean,
Well,
other than
Crawford
the business.
Strategies is a
And we're not
proven,
strategy anymore. So we're Crawford.
just Crawford.
We dropped strategy because, listen, you called it Crawford Strategies, and it was, everyone did that. And
Yeah.
so we dropped strategy because it was just with a Y. And so we said, you know what? No one seems to get that. We're going to be just Crawford. And we are an agency, an ad agency that does great creative, and we got some killer talent, and we're excited to help.
Where's headquarters these days?
Headquarters is over on McBee,
McBee.
in the building with the county bank.
Yes.
You know, right
Perfect.
there. Yeah.
Perfect. We're
But we
right
have team members in Raleigh and Charleston and Denver. So we're not limited to headquarters, but we do love to work in person together. We feel like we're more creative that way.
Good. Well, I'm happy for you, proud of you, and
Thank you.
thanks for coming out today.
Oh my gosh, are we already finished?
Well, I mean, you got anything else you'd like to say?
No, I just think this has gone by so fast. It's been
I
so
mean,
much fun.
We normally don't talk this long at a cocktail party.
That's so true.
Like, hey, how are you? Fine.
Do you hunt?
Yeah, I'll hunt.
Okay.
I'll come down there and shoot some quail or whatever y'all got.
All right. Well, quail, turkey,
Turkey,
deer.
deer.
I killed 5 deer last year.
Yeah, plenty of deer, I bet.
I got to learn how to shoot a bow.
How big? So we were going to talk about that. How big is the farm?
Well, the farm is a little over 500 acres. It's got an old farmhouse, 1850s farmhouse that we're in the process of fixing up. So that's the one we're putting in the new kitchen for.
Yeah.
But it's great. We have a barn, which is where we do most of our gatherings. And we have a pond and a duck impoundment, so we hunt ducks down there. And it's great. It's wonderful. We just love being outside.
Yeah.
A lot of hiking.
What is the commute time?
45 minutes.
Okay.
Well, actually, in the last year, Greenville has grown noticeably and traffic has slowed down noticeably if I leave at certain times. So I've now had to start timing when I leave. Otherwise, it's an hour, which, Greenville just has grown.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd love to come down to the farm, catch a fish or
Yeah.
shoot a turkey.
There's a lot. Broly caught a fish like this size
Really?
in the pond, 2 of them. Yeah.
Really?
There's some big
Can I
fish.
bring
out
my instrument down there and jam with the cello man?
Yeah, well, we're gonna have a concert actually in the barn. I don't have the date, but if I get you the date, that'd be a fun thing to come down. We need to get you on that list.
Yeah,
We're
please
having a
do.
concert in the barn.
Okay.
I don't remember all the details. Katie Day is helping organize it.
Okay.
I think we're gonna have a couple of different instruments there.
It'll be fun.
Yeah.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll talk to Jennifer and put it on the social calendar.
I love it.
I'll wear my camo.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Well, thank you again.
No, thanks for having me.
It's been delightful. We could probably talk another hour, but
I could. This is so
I
fun.
know. That's why I asked you to come. I knew you'd enjoy it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
A lot of fun.
Okay.